Welcome everybody to Cinema Sitdown. I am Josh Williams, your host, and today we reviewed for Cinema Sitdown The Vast of Night, directed and written by Andrew Patterson, and it starred Sierra McCormick and Jake Horowitz. This is one of my favorite films of 2020, and I'll explain to you why right after this intro. Welcome back everybody to Cinema Sitdown, and as I said before, we're reviewing The Vast of Night, and I am here joined by my esteemed colleagues here. We'll start from left to right. Who we got with us here today?
My name is Thomas.
I'm Isaiah.
I'm Natalie.
This is Natalie.
I'm Abby.
Welcome everybody to Cinema Sitdown. This is our last Cinema Sitdown here for the semester, and we appreciate you guys being here with us today. And another quick shout out, this is actually Thomas's last Cinema Sit Down as he is graduating. And then Cheyon, our esteemed Floor, she is also leaving us, going back home. And we're sad to see them go, but we are so happy that they were here with us. But okay, The Vast of Night. Let's get into this, guys. It was directed by and written by Andrew Patterson. Now, I picked this one just because I love me some sci-fi film, an alien film. But when I saw this when it first came out, it was during the pandemic. And it blew me away. And the only fact is on a $700,000 budget, and from what they were able to do was spectacular. But that's what I think. I want to hear what you guys think. We'll just kind of start here and go around the bend.
Yeah, I knew going into it because you'd mentioned before we started the viewing that it was made on a fairly tight budget, so I kind of kept all of that in mind. I was noticing how a lot of the scenes are in very ambiguous locations, not necessarily showing a lot, and the few big set pieces that they do have, they go to a lot. So they really knew what to put their money into when it came to specifically the set and design and everything, the making the modern day feel like the 1950s. They did a really nice job in a few select locations and then really stuck to those. I think it worked very well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really long takes where you're just sitting down, when she's messing with all the plugs, getting calls in and stuff like that. It felt like maybe 20 minutes. I don't know if it really was that long, but they really utilize the sets that they have. And then obviously at the end, we won't go into detail, but it looked like maybe they were using some sort of, I don't know, it gave me the kind of effect that they did in Star Wars where there was a painting and then a model. I don't know if that's what they did, but it gave me that kind of budget kind of effect instead of using CGI. I don't know if that's what they did, but that's what I...
Andrew did say in an interview that he got his inspiration a lot from Spielberg and from George Lucas when it came to some of these effects, especially involving some of the UFO aspects and stuff like that. So it's a good point to bring because that's where a lot of his inspiration came from. There's actually a little Easter egg I'll tell you guys later about that was an inspiration from Spielberg himself. But what did you think, Natalie?
I think it was cool. The transition scenes were with the TV, and when you were told us about it in the beginning, you were like, oh, it's low budget, but then I forgot about that the whole way through, and I was like, oh, this is just a cool film. So it's just entertaining.
I can really agree in that they're able to get creative with their camera work too, and we'll get into that as well, but that's one thing too that was really surprising to me is what they were able to do with just that amount of budget. What do you think?
Oh, I love this movie. I do agree, I didn't even think about it being low budget, but anything sci-fi related based in 50s and stuff like that, I'm already there. I just already like the Twilight Zone, and that kind of has that sci-fi aspect to it, which felt very much kind of almost like a Twilight Zone kind of thing. So I thought it was really cool. The cinematography was really nice. I liked a lot of the lighting in a lot of the scenes. I do agree there was some times I was kind of my eyes were slowly drifting, but it was because there was a lot of telling and not too much showing. But I think that spoke louder than actually visually seeing it.
Yeah, because it's broadcast too in their radio.
Yeah. And I can kind of agree with that too. You want to see more stuff as it's going on because there's a lot of long takes of a lot of dialogue. But I think that goes to show what they're able to do just creatively. For me, within the screenplay, for that reason, it kept me, when I first saw this, it kept me going throughout because they were always bringing some new information in or kind of slowly, it starts off very just everyday life and then they're slowly sprinkling in these amounts of mystery and just keeps you intrigued. At least that's how it was for me. Did you guys agree with that as far as the screenplay goes? I mean, there was a lot of dialogue like you said, but would you guys agree it kept you going at least during all this dialogue?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I really enjoy that kind of like drip feed thing they did with the information where, you're getting these really long scenes, but if you're paying attention, you're getting little bits of information, And to me, I imagine it's really hard to make that kind of thing work. And to me, it was really like, I don't know, I had a lot of anxiety watching that because I was like, I don't know, it's something, I don't watch that much horror, but I really like psychological horror type of stuff. And they gave me that effect of like, something's just wrong. Yeah. And it was like such subtle things that I didn't know what was going on necessarily, but I was just like, okay, this is really weird. And I don't know, that hooked me, for me at least.
That's how it was for me. Would you have?
Yeah, as far as the because in a lot of cinema you want to say show not tell, but in this it does the opposite. It literally tells you and doesn't show you really anything up until like the last couple minutes of the film. And I think that for this one it really worked, especially considering the smaller budget. And I feel like this same script, because it could have easily been adapted into a very mediocre like mystery action film where you get like the military general character and you have like the small town cop who are at odds, and you have like the family who their kid is really investigated in this. And what we ended up getting was a story that only had really two main characters. It was only Faye and Everett, and the two like supporting characters that we got, one of which was literally just a voice on the phone. And still, like, I feel like I know so much more about that character than I do a lot about the other characters in movies like that, with the small-time cop and the military general, when they just have so much they're trying to feed in your throat. Instead, we get this, like, really long-winded story from an old-timer who, this happened to me once, man. And I thought that worked really well for this story, specifically with that angle of like, all of this is for radio.
Yeah, I will say just real quick, I felt like some of the interviews worked a lot better than others. I think his name was Billy.
Yeah, Billy. Yeah.
I thought Billy's was fantastic. I was completely sunken in. I felt like the older woman didn't do as much for me. I feel like it was a little bit too, I don't know, I was expecting it to kind of twist what I expected, and it kind of just gave me exactly what I expected from her. So that part was, I'll let you kind of go into it.
No, I do agree. Yeah, because I think, but she did a really good job at acting, but I feel like maybe, what is it called with your voice? Like the inflection could have been like a little bit better, because there was kind of times where it just was very much just like this, and that's what was kind of making me, like I was paying attention, but it was just kind of like, are we gonna, like, I mean, even if she just said it a little bit differently, I feel like it probably would have impacted a little bit more. But everybody else's like dialogue they had sounded just so normal and so like fluent through the whole time.
I think that's one of the reasons that I felt the old woman's interview to be it was so like it just felt out of place for me, is because they did this thing where she would like, it's like, oh, well, I'll tell you all the answers. Well, when I was a kid, and then I had a son but like she was telling some of these things out of order, so it'd be like she's building up to a point and then she's going to cut way back in the story and build back up to that same point. And I think that it could have worked really, really well, because that is a lot of times how, so like me in particular, if I'm telling a story and I'm like forgetting details, like it's very realistic for that to happen. But for lack of a better term, the charisma wasn't there in the performance for me.
That's fair.
To carry that out. So it just felt like two different things that were not necessarily hurting each other, they just weren't helping each other.
And that was one of my complaints too when I first saw this film, was that she wasn't nearly up to par as the rest. But I had never seen her anything before, so maybe, I don't know if she's like an older actress who's just, getting another job or whatnot. I don't know. But it's just compared to like Faye and Everett's characters, like they were just so much better. But I want to kind of switch gears here now. This is one of the main reasons I picked this film, is just for the creativity of the camera work. And this camera work for me was some of the best I've seen, even on like bigger budget films. More in particular, I want to go with Natalie here, and we'll go around with everybody else's thoughts. What was your favorite? But also, I want to know what you guys' take is that scene where he plays. We're gonna get into spoiler territory, but it's been out for 4 years, guys. Come on. The scene where he puts on the sound, and then she goes outside to take a smoke break, and then it goes from one long tracking shot from the whole town through the basketball game, going back to the WTO. What did you guys think of that scene alone? And I actually found out why, but I want to see if you guys how you think they did that.
Okay.
But what was your favorite? Like, do you have any favorite shots of yours?
Okay, so everything you guys were saying, the camera work, and Isaiah was talking about the anxiety that you got in the movie, because we know it's a space movie, right? So then when they're both walking, and then she's like talking about the recorder, like the camera is like really low, and then it's like all the shots are really low and like long, and just like, and then it's like there's like a lighthouse looking thing, and then his like subject goes into the light, and it's like, oh my god, it looks like a UFO. That was my favorite shot.
Yeah,
and it also caused me anxiety because I was like, what the hell is happening? I felt scared. And then when you guys were talking about the old lady thing, again, because it's like a journalist thing. So I was just like, sometimes when you're like just going to find the story, you just see people just saying stories that kind of relate. So I was like, oh, that's fair. Like, that's real life. But like, actually doesn't pertain to plot. And then what was the last bit? Oh, the long scene. I thought that was really cool because it was like it started and I was like, oh, this is such a cool long scene, and then the music kind of took me out because it was just like, I don't know, the music could have been scarier for me, and then I would have been like, oh my god, I'm scared. But then it was just more like, ooh, I'm like at a concert. But I did think it was cool, and how they did it, I think they rode a bicycle and put a GoPro on it.
Interesting.
That's me. Fair. They were going fast, man. I was like, they were zooming down there. I will say with the music, I do agree at the very end, that kind of like, I was like, I feel like this could be a little bit more like ominous. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
But in a way I liked it because it sounded a little bit happy, like there's nothing to really be afraid of. So it's like they were scared, but that it doesn't necessarily mean that they were gonna really like, do a whole lot. Like, I mean, we don't really know why they were there, like the aliens and stuff like that were there, and like what they were gonna do. So like it could be friendly, who knows? But like, I don't know. I do agree with that, but then I was like, oh, maybe that's why they were kind of doing that. But I like a lot of the camera work. That one, is it called like a one?
It's a one shot.
Just like a oneer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That I was like, oh my gosh, it like just kept going, and just I don't know how they did it. I'm assuming. Well, at first I was like, by car. But then I was like, no, I don't think it's by car because the way that they were like jumping in and out and stuff like that. I have no idea. No, I don't know.
Well, what was your guys' one of your favorite shots, I guess, since
that's what I was
go
like,
to that
next
one.
best guess.
Go ahead, Thomas.
I am so curious as to how you think they did it because I feel like I know. I feel like I know how they did it.
Okay.
But I don't want to.
Should we wait for it? Well, my first favorite, I really enjoy the one where they're going into the basketball game, and you kind of are going through, and you're slowly turning around as they're playing the game, and it's very like nauseating, and you're kind of like lifted up, and then you turn a little bit more, then you're lifted up a little bit more, then you go out the window, and
like
then
a UFO.
So I don't know, I really enjoyed that. There are so many shots where the way they shot it, it just makes it feel like they're being watched. Yeah. That's the kind of like vibe I got from a lot of the shots was they're being watched by something, and obviously you kind of think like, oh, maybe the UFO is related in some way. So I really enjoyed a lot of it, and then there's that kind of like one shot just was very nauseating. It was like, I don't know, I really liked it. I think it's very impressive. Not my favorite like scene from the movie. It's still like the switcher scene between all the calls and stuff like that. I really enjoyed that. But
that was cool.
No, perfect segue because that is 100% my favorite shot. It's like a 10-minute long shot that is just Faye sitting at a switchboard, plugging the phone lines to the different callers and just trying to get in communications with anyone. And I think the reason that I like it so much is it goes against show don't tell. Like the only thing that you know about the people that she's calling, like I would say in most movies, if they had a scene like this, it'd be like, oh, she plugs it in, and then it would cut to the house that she's calling, and it would show the caller picking it up. But it just doesn't. It doesn't cut away at all. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that you know about these people is their names, and that she's like, oh, well, this thing is happening, and like whatever information that they talk about. And it does such a good job of showing like this is a really small town. Everyone knows everyone. To the point where they're like, oh, well, Evelyn didn't pick up the phone. Can you go check on her? And it's like, oh, I'm sure she's fine, ma'am. Small town things. Do you want to do on the count of three?
I was gonna say the exact same thing. Okay. 3.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Drone. Thank you. Yes. Drone. So I have seen. This is from a different movie. However, this is how I think they did it. They have a drone with a cinema camera on the bottom of it, and they're flying it from location to location. So they start inside the shot, looking at Faye at the switchboard. It goes past her, out the door, into the street, curves around, goes up to the gym. Now, when they get to the gym, there is a wall of people standing in front of the gym. Now, what they've done is they've masked off a different shot from starting at the same location on a different camera that they've masked into that, and then when it passes those people, it switches over to that other point of view fully, goes through there, probably, I want to say either a crane, or I think that the way the camera was moving specifically at the end when they're walking up the bleachers, it felt like someone stepping with the camera. I think that they just had a camera, and it was literally just camera operators dressed as like extras, passing it between each other when they weren't in frame. 100% what I think happened. I don't know if it is, but I think that's the way they did it for that scene.
Clever way
and
to
then
do it.
they get to the window again, very similar thing. When they pan out the window, that's a different shot from the drone again. They hold the window out, and they literally just drop it, and as they drop it, it flies off and continues the shot. And I've seen, I wish I knew the name of the movie that I've seen, like the behind the scenes for it, where they do something very similar, like they have a drone, they fly it down a building to like next to a car, the camera op literally reaches out the window, grabs it, pulls it through the car, uses it as a camera, and then throws it out the window, and it continues flying.
Surprisingly, no.
What? What?
Wait,
no
what is
way.
it then?
I don't believe you.
A bike.
Somebody running really, really fast.
It's entirely CGI.
No, Andrew Patterson had an interview because somebody asked the same question
AI.
at a festival. And Natalie was the closest right.
A GoPro on a bicycle?
No, it wasn't a GoPro. It was an actual
Unicycle.
legit cinema camera on, someone had it attached, like they had it on like a gimbal type of thing, like 3-axis, so it stays still, and they were on a dirt bike.
This
Dirt
sucks.
bike. Okay.
This sucks.
They were going pretty quickly.
So they were going through a dirt bike, but then here the fun part is once they got to the gym, they had people out of frame, and once it got close enough, they would hand it off, go
Okay, so that's sort of
Okay,
Yeah.
you still got that, yeah.
go through, and then here's the crazy part. They would then attach it, once they got up to the upper part of the gym, they would attach it to a rope, bring it down, and then continue on back on the bike.
Wow. That's not it's still elaborate, but not as professional that I thought. I was like, we would do that just in one of our
That's
classes.
why I applauded it so much, because of the creativity of just taking what you have available.
Wow.
Because he didn't have time, he didn't have money for an actual good drone like that to keep up with something like that, because he spent so much money into the camera. He had that camera, and then he had the other camera for that particular reason, for that shot. So
Dirt bike.
Cool.
it was very interesting, and I
camera
applauded it
is
for
a
that
dirt bike.
creativity alone. That's what.
Yeah, that sounds like something
Crazy.
that we would do around here.
Right.
We need to get this shot right. Who has duct tape and a dirt
So, well,
bike?
I have a dirt bike. Yes.
We have a gimbal. Strap it to
That was
that.
Go ahead.
Crazy.
nothing.
Oh, okay.
I was like, wouldn't it be silly if it was AI? Because it was just like, that's
was
so
It's actually all
absurd.
AI.
Like,
Yeah.
how are you going to get that
All
big
all
crowd
CGI
shot?
completely.
Yeah.
It's all CGI.
But let's go ahead and let's get into our kind of final thoughts here. But what are some of the things that you maybe didn't like, but other things that you may have liked? But kind of go around the bin, and then give me your score as well. Just kind of your overall thoughts on everything.
The ending felt abrupt to me. However, I'm going to redeem it in the fact that this is styled after an episode of like The Twilight Zone, something you were mentioning earlier. It's implied that the entire movie is just like an episode of Twilight Zone that we're watching through a TV. There are transitions literally that is just like showing you that, oh, just to remind you, you're still watching this through like an old school TV. And I really liked that. So those two things are going to cancel each other out. I really like this movie.
What score would you give it?
I'm going to give it a 8.5. I think
8.5.
there's room for improvement, but it doesn't need it. This is a very solid movie.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have the same gripes with the ending. I'd say I feel like it did fall a little bit short, especially, it was just the scene with the old woman and the ending really kind of, I wish that those were accomplished a little bit differently. I felt like they did kind of underperform in comparison to everything else, especially the first 30 or so minutes. Amazing. I think a similar movie to me is Nope, kind of with
Yeah.
it
I
kind
was
of
thinking about
reminded me
that.
some elements of that, but I felt like Nope accomplished. Obviously, it's a whole different movie, but they did. I felt like they landed that ending with twisting the kind of alien, UFO kind of stuff way better. And I thought this one was going to have more of a subversion, I guess,
Yeah.
and it didn't. But regardless, I would still say I want to say I don't want to steal the exact same score, 8.6.
Okay. All right.
Because I really,
plagiarism if it's 8.6.
I really do think it's a great movie.
All right, Natalie?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I was interested the whole time. I would watch it again, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. What score would you give it?
8.
8? Okay.
Sorry.
But yeah, you seem to
Yeah.
really love this movie
I really
yourself.
do. I think I need to watch it when I'm not as sleepy, because like I think that's kind of what did it. It would be a 9 because it made me a little sleepy, and I do agree. I know I like creepy stuff. I know if it just had a little bit more creepy to it, because I just, like I said, at the end there, just even just a music change, just a little bit more creepy, because it's like I just gotta have a little bit of something there. So I'll give it an 8.8.
Well, I mean, those are all good scores. Me personally, I gave this movie a 9.6 when I first gave it, and I still stick with that. I love the ending personally. It got under my skin for the fact of just how it left it. And it made you, like, especially after it cut to black, it sat on black for a little bit too, just made you absorb and feel what you just saw. Like you went along with these characters other than have that happen at the ending. And just to me, the build up, when I first saw it, and even to then now, it's done so well, so subtly, to where it comes to this kind of crescendo. While it is short, I feel like it just kind of, it hits you hard and it just let you feel it until the end. That, to me, those kind of things really resonate with me as far as filmmaking goes. So, all right, folks, that was it for today. Thank you so much for watching. What did you think of the Bast of Night? Leave your comments in the section below. Give us your positives, your negatives, and your score out of 10. Also, guys, if you like what you watched here, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel so you receive all of our great content here on Red Digital. We have one more show here left. We have Real-Time Roundtable this week, but then we are gone for the rest of the semester. Real quick, guys, let's give a little round of applause for Thomas and Cheyon. They're going to be leaving us. We're going to give them a little round of applause. We're going to miss you guys so much, but that'll just be it, folks. Come back to us next semester in fall. We'll have a new slate of films for you to review. Again, I'm Josh Williams, and have a good night.